This is LT Melton with FetchYourNews.com, and I'm sitting here with Fannin High School head football coach Jim Pavao. Coach, talk a little bit about you guys' summer workouts. You guys are doing your testing right now, and also you got a youth camp coming up. Talk a little bit about the work you guys have done this summer.
Yeah, well, we've brought the kids in on average 3 mornings a week, and we do our speed work at bring them at 6:30 in the morning, do speed work for about 45 minutes, and then we'll take them in the weight room and lift weights for about 45 minutes, and then we'll go out and do some type of practice, non-padded practice for about 45 minutes. So, we're putting in, a couple 3 hours a day, 3 days a week or more, and we've been to a couple of camps. Last week we went to Northwest Whitfield for a 2-day camp over there. It was a helmet and shoulder pad camp, and things went well over there. We got a lot of work done there, and then we had a 1-day camp, shoulder pad camp here in June with another team, and then we're going tomorrow actually to Chestatee High School for a helmet shoulder pad camp over there tomorrow morning. And so we'll give an opportunity to work and work a little bit of camp work and some pad work and get a little bit of contact in and going against some other folks and kind of start to figure out. We know the guys that can play for us, and try and find those extra few guys who have developed over the winter and gotten stronger and gotten faster, and all of a sudden now they can help us at the varsity level as compared to last year. Maybe they were a JV player, now they've matured and gotten better, and they're saying, hey, this guy's looking pretty good, not just in practices against their own guy, but when we go to these camps, competing against other teams and looking pretty good against other teams. So it's been a good summer. We've got a lot accomplished. We're fairly healthy right now. We haven't had, coming from the camps, we really haven't had a lot of injuries or anything, no major injury where we've lost anybody for the season. And so right now we're feeling really good about our summer. The testing we just completed today. I don't have the results to where they're at, but we felt pretty good about our times, our 40 times and agility drill testing, and then we did the weight testing today and felt pretty good about those things there. So we've gotten faster, we've gotten stronger, we've had great attendance from the kids all summer, and so we're looking forward to the season.
Now, let me ask, judging this summer versus last summer, you finding that you're coaching a little more, I guess, technique as opposed to the scheme because everybody's more familiar, or are you finding, with new coaches that you're still kind of trying to teach the system a little bit?
Well, you're always teaching the system and refining it, and you're always trying to teach fundamentals, and so it's just now it's at a deeper level or a higher level because the guys have been in the system for a year and they understand what we want as far as fundamentals, and so it's just trying to take it to that next level of competency, both as fundamental and the scheme. And with the new offense coordinator, he's brought in, it's the same offense, but a few little wrinkles, different wrinkles.
Right.
It's like anything.
Right.
You can run the same offense from year to year, and you're just going to, based on your players, and maybe if you have a coaching change, just personality.
Right.
What you're going to, the personality offense. And of course, Brad at quarterback, he's matured another year, so maybe we might put a little bit more things on him.
Right.
Maybe some things we didn't want him to do last year, ask him to do this year. And we've moved a couple of guys around position-wise, and and defensively, I think right now, we're ahead at this time defensively of any time last year.
Right.
So I think will we be a better defense? I feel we will be, just in the just the fact of just keeping everybody healthy, carry over from last year, the 7, 8, whatever we had returning starters, and we should be asking defensively to be more of a factor in the games and not having just outscore everybody.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned the defense. We talked before about how you got a new defensive coordinator. Obviously, he'll be running your scheme, but it will allow you to focus more on one of the linebackers as opposed to all of them. How has that been for you so far, having that extra person, extra voice?
Well, I mean, it's helping me because now I can really work at the inside linebackers, and we've done things already now as far as fundamental work that we almost never did last year.
Right.
Because I just didn't have the time, because I was trying to split time between 2 positions, and the outside linebackers have done things already that they hadn't done at this point, last year. So You know, obviously our fundamentals are going to get better. You know, it's just another pair of eyes also, and, you know, another guy, you know, I can bounce ideas off of, and we can talk back and forth, and you know, and of course he's taking a look at certain personnel, other kids on the team, and saying, hey, maybe that kid could help us over at outside linebacker, where last year I was just kind of trying to juggle certain things. So he's been really helpful, and definitely going to make a stronger defense.
Now, you mentioned that you guys have been relatively healthy, and obviously every season that's one of the main goals. How do you balance trying to get the kids bigger, faster, stronger, but also trying to make sure that they're not hurt, that they're doing everything technique-wise correctly?
Well, I mean, as far as bigger and faster and stronger stuff, those things are just, I mean, you've got to monitor the way, like, weight-wise, you know, I mean, you're trying to teach them, understand that, you know, you want to use heavy weight, but not so much that you can't handle, you know, and of course spotting, make sure you got guys that are spotting him, you know, it's not just, hey, get in there to lift and just everybody back off, it's, you know, get in there and lift, but we're going to be right here where if you can't do it after a certain amount of reps, you know, we can help you and spot, so spotting is a big part of that. As far as speed work, and, you know, we're going to warm up, you know, really. You know, we're going to get a good warm-up before, and at the end of the workouts, we're always going to get a good stretch at the end, you know, and so it's just kind of a combination of things, stretching and spotting and proper warm-up and technique, you know, and then there's a point in time we just got to tell a kid, don't do that, you know, that weight, you know, like there's a guy today, we're maxing out, and he got, you know, like 235 or 240 on a power clean, and then he tried a little heavier, and he almost got it, but he almost got hurt.
Right.
Fortunately, the spotters took care of him. I said, okay, that's it, you're done.
Right.
And there was no reason. I mean, what's the difference what's the difference in the big picture about winning football games if his max is 240 or 245? Right. You know, so you got to kind of understand when to say that's enough. Enough's enough, and we know he's gotten stronger. You know, and that's important, you know, so I think it's just you try to go with your gut feeling and judgment, and then you got to teach the players, they got to be, you know, understanding that, you know, we're trying to get stronger, we're trying to get faster, and we're trying to minimize injuries, and they're just as big a part of it as we are as coaches. They've got to try things, you know, work hard, right, but not, you know, they got to understand when it's time to say, okay, I shouldn't be doing that. Like all of a sudden, you know, we were again today, a kid came up to me and said, hey coach, my legs kind of hurt me a little bit. I said, well, stop. You know, don't try another rep and the max. You're good. You've done good. The other 9 tests, you've done really good. This is the 10th one. Let's not get hurt on the 10th test. Right. You know, the last test. Let's stop right here, and it's been a good summer. So, you know, you just kind of got to use judgment and understand. They let the kids also use their common sense and teach them a little common sense about staying healthy, and because of course you can't be watching them every second. So.
I'm actually glad that you mentioned that. Obviously, you've coached in high school for a long time. Have you found that when it comes to the off season, when they're putting in that work, that you have to kind of manage their egos and manage them more about like not pushing themselves too hard because they're 15, 16-year-old kids and they want to get that weight. They want to shave that 40 times and maybe train a little too hard.
You're always trying to get them to train hard.
Right.
Okay. You're trying to get them to understand train smart. Okay, and hard doesn't mean I got a ton of weight on there that I can't do. Right. You know, you might have a light weight on there and you do it as many times as you can plus a couple. Right. So, you know, training hard is not always, hey, I have to have a lot of weight on there. Training hard is pushing to failure, and this is many as, and you have spotters there, but you know it's working hard and getting something out of it as compared to just always trying heavy, because that's a lot of times people, you know, think we're just, you know, lifting heavy weight one time. Right. We do that certain times in a year, minimum amounts of times. You know, I mean, you know, I think all year round we might do a single rep max maybe 3 times a year, 4 times a year. That's it. Where the rest of the time we're always trying to do weight where we're doing, you know, 3, 4, 5 reps, and then even other times we're trying to do other lifts where we're doing 8, 10, 12, 15 reps. So, because football is not just a 1 rep. You've got to be able to do that 1 rep, you know, but then you got to be able to come back the next play and do it again, and the next play and do it again, and do that for 4 quarters. So, you know, we're training some muscle endurance, not just muscle strength. And of course, flexibility and, you know, all those things. Kind of, you know, you're not a bodybuilder, you're not a power lifter, you're not, you know, you're an athlete. So you're not a track guy, but you're trying to combine all of those things to become a good football player, well-rounded athlete.
Now, I'd like you to compare and contrast the padded practices with the 7-on-7s. You guys are an offense that plays that up tempo, passes the ball a lot. So obviously you get something out of both, but you know you see more with the linemen, I guess, in the padded camps, and more with your skill position players in your 7-on-7s. Compare and contrast them and what you look for out of each.
Well, in 7-on-7, that's a great time for the offensive players to really just, you know, run routes, catch football. The quarterback doesn't have to worry about the pass rush, and you know that. But you can go through your reads,
right,
and then throw the football, and there's no consequences if they intercept it. Well, you know, it's passing league, you know.
Right.
But it gives you an opportunity to practice those reads and run routes, and as an offensive coordinator, try some things. Say, hey, can we now, and look at things. Say, it doesn't work in passing league. It ain't going to work in a game.
Right.
You know. And then defensively, it gives you an opportunity to really, you know, work on coverages and, you know, and sit there and, you know, we were going to play a lot of zone coverage, of course.
Right.
But, you know, be able to sit there and work on your zone coverages and you know, really it's kind of like it's third and long all the time, passively to me.
Right.
You know, and so I think that's there. You know, in a camp, a shoulder pad and helmet camp, I think now you're looking at, you know, yeah, you're bringing in the flying factor, but now you're looking at as a quarterback can he find throwing lanes?
Right.
You know, can he find the progression of routes with stuff going on in front of his face? You know, those 5 offensive linemen and 3, 4, 5 defensive players, you know, coming at him.
Right.
Can you find and go through the progression? Because now there is a consequence. You know, if I hold the ball too long, I'm going to get hit. You know?
Right.
So and then of course, you know, now find out, hey, can your receivers block? Because there's no blocking in 7-on-7.
Right.
You know,
everybody looks pretty when they catch the ball.
Defensively, now you're looking at, you know, besides can I get off of blocks? Okay. You know, can I transition from run to pass?
Right.
Because in pass league, you know it's pass.
Right.
So
Right.
you just everybody drop back and cover pass.
Right.
You know, but now all of a sudden, they're running it inside, they're running it outside, they're throwing the football long, they're throwing it short, you know, and so now can I transition, can I stop the run, and then can I transition from run to pass? Because a lot of times in these camps, you're not down in distance.
Right.
So it's really hard because now they could run 20 plays in a row,
right.
20 plays, or they could pass 20 plays in a row. They could run, pass, run, pass, run, pass, run, pass.
Right.
And so there's not even a situation where you say, okay, well, it's third and short. It's just another play. And
right.
so it really teach the defense how to, okay, well, stop the run. As if I'm a front player, and I'm a linebacker, defensive lineman, I've really got to concentrate on stopping a run right now and then transition to pass. As a defensive back, I got to think pass first, but then be able to transition into run support. And so that's the compare and contrast.
Right.
The two things. It's taken it that next level of reaction. You know, and stuff that's going on, you know, multiple responsibilities
right.
compared to just one responsibility.
Now, I want to switch gears a little bit and kind of talk about your upcoming season. You have a year under your belt. You're more familiar with the region that you'll be playing in. What are some of the lessons you learned last year that you'll be applying to this upcoming season?
Yeah, well, I think lessons, you're always trying to grow as a coach, you know, and I think lessons for me would have to be, you know, is just keep sticking with your guns. I mean, I've always felt that way, but
right.
I keep reaffirming that because, you know, there's always times where you want to just, you know, and I guess with changing offensive coordinator, that really was a good lesson for me.
Right.
It's always, you know, always have things in place to where if you do have change, it's minimum effect on the players. And I think I already knew that, but I think that was solidified that as compared to just a lesson, but it solidified that. Defensively, bringing a new defense coordinator, of course, I'm involved with the defense heavily, so I knew there wasn't going to be a lot of changes there. But I think lesson learned there was last year there was a point in time where I just said, you know what, I'm not going to worry about hiring an outside linebacker coach. I'll just coach them both.
Right.
And I I guess the lesson learned there was too much responsibility leads to mediocrity, you know? And so now I guess that would be a good lesson learned. You know, you want to sit there and say, well, I could coach both, and I've done it before, but I realized before too, it was hard, and the players are going to aren't going to be as coached as well, because as a coach, you're spread too thin. You know, and so I guess that would be a good lesson learned. And there are probably some other things in there too, but those are the two that just stuck right out.
Now, staying on the upcoming season, as you prepare for the season, do you guys? I guess the question is, at what point do you start focusing in on that first Gilmer game, as opposed to just focusing in on the offense and the defense in general?
Well, I think we will really start developing kind of a game plan type mentality probably right after that scrimmage with South Atlanta. So we're getting better, keep getting ourselves better, keep getting better. You know, we'll prepare a little bit for that South Atlanta scrimmage, because we'll have a little film from last year. We don't trade film, but we'll have some film from last year. And so we'll prepare a little bit for that game, but it's basically about getting us better. Keep getting fundamentally better. And then once South Atlanta's done, then we'll kind of start focusing more on Gilmer, that first game. I mean, I think, you know, we've been kind of focused in a way on that game since back when the summer started, because the first thing I tell the kids is, you know, if you really want to win that first game, then you'll be here all summer. Now I understand you're going on vacation or you know, or whatever, but you're going to not be laying at home in bed, you know. And that's what I tell the kids. Your family's going to go on a vacation, that's fine. Go on that vacation. As soon as you get back, get on back to workouts. You know, and they're kids, and I'm not paying them. You know, they're not on salary or anything like that. So, but don't be laying home in bed, because if you're laying home in bed, you really don't want to win that first game. You really don't want to win any game. You know, because that all summer is not just going to affect the first game, it's going to affect the second game, it's going to affect the third game. You know, those first, second, third games are going to affect the fourth, fifth, sixth. You know, so it's kind of a snowball one way or the other. If you really prepare for early in the season by having a great summer program, then you know, you put yourself in a good situation. You give yourself a chance to win in those first few games. Of course, if you win some of those first few games, or all of those first few games, then it's going to develop that momentum for the middle part of the season, which takes you into region play. And you know, I mean, so it's kind of, we've already been, you know, talking to kids about, you know, if you really want to win the first game or the first few games, then you'll be here in the summer preparing. So I guess in a way we've kind of already thrown that out there a little bit.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned that second half of the season, the region games. This is like, obviously this is your second year in the region. What was some of the things that you learned about your region in particular, that that some of those lessons that you learned about the region that you'll apply to this year?
I think, lessons, or I think just familiarity would be a great way to put it. You know, finding out this is a good region. It's the thing about this region is all the teams are pretty good. And you know, right now obviously West Hall won the region last year, and so that'd be the kingpin right now, and that's obviously everybody's going to shoot for them. But there's no team in this region, I think, that couldn't compete for the region championship, or at least a high seed. You know, I don't think there's anybody in the region right now you're going to sit there and say, well, they can't make the playoffs. You know, so I think all the teams are capable of making the playoffs. I think probably at least four, maybe, I think at least four of the teams are capable to win the region championship, or at least the second seed. You know, and so it's just, you know, again, it's. I think that's the thing I learned from it. You know, that you can beat anybody, but you can be beat by anybody. You know, so that's, I think, a good, something to carry from last year, and it's. I think this is a lineman's region. A lot of good line, and not saying there aren't good skill players. There's a lot of good skill players. I mean, Lumpkin has a quarterback that's a really super athlete. And of course, West Hall has 2 or 3 really super skilled position players, and I can go down each team that has, you know, Banks has the running back, outside linebacker, super athlete. You know, so there's plenty of skilled players. But this region has a lot of really good linemen in it, offense and defensive linemen. So I think that's the difference, one of the differences between this region and some other regions, where they'll have good skilled players, but linemen are kind of. But it seemed like to me that this is a really good. We had no problem picking an all-region team, first, second team of linemen, and usually you kind of struggle.
Right.
But there were so many. We felt that we left some kids out.
Right.
And that's, I think, one of the reasons there were so many kids that got honorable mention. Seniors, there were a lot of good underclass linemen, and so it should be another good year for linemen in this region also.
Now, you guys, you barely missed the playoffs. You were in the hunt for the playoffs all year. That's something that hadn't happened in Fannin in a while. What are you seeing from your team and the community as far as excitement about this season and maybe breaking that playoff drought?
Well, I think, that's a big goal for our guys is to make the playoffs, and obviously. I had a coach say one time said you play the regular season to make the playoffs. And I was kind of like, makes sense. That was a long time ago, and it always stuck with me. It was like, yeah, you got to enjoy the season, but it's not just about playing the season. It's about giving yourself an opportunity to go and play in the playoffs and see what you can do against other regions. And so, I don't think they'd be doing all the things we ask them if they just wanted to play 10 games. If they just wanted to play 10 games, of the 28 workouts that we had this summer, they probably would have showed up maybe half the time.
Right.
But when you got kids that are showing up in the 20s, multiple, I don't mean like, I'm talking about 3/4 to 90% of the team showing up, 24, 25, 27, 29. We actually have a kid or two that'll have more workouts than, they'll come to the makeup one too, even though they don't have anything to make up.
Right.
So I think you don't do that if you just want to play 10 games. That's the extra effort, just like the other teams I know the other teams in our region are doing. The teams that want to win a region championship or get in the playoffs, they're working out hard this summer. So, we try to talk to our guys about outworking other teams, and that ain't easy.
Right.
Because I know all these coaches in this region, and they all are going to demand their players to work out hard, and so it's going to take an extra effort to try to outwork the folks in this region.
All right, now, Coach, I want to switch gears again. Talk a little bit about your future Rebels that you have here in your camp this week here.
Okay, well, the camp that we have, they're all from age. I think the youngest one we have is 5, all the way up to we've got middle school kids here, and it was somewhere in 100, right around 100, 110, kids, and then. So we were really excited about that. Anytime in a small town we can get 100 kids showing up, 3 nights, maybe one night, but, 3 nights in the middle of the summer, and it's really not even football season yet. That makes you feel pretty good. That shows a commitment from the kids. And of course, I know that 5-year-old kid didn't drive himself here, so the commitment from the parents.
Right.
So. It's been, it's refreshing. It's a great feeling to know that the kids and the parents see football as an important thing in their life, and I know it's not the only thing, but it's an important thing. It's something they want their child, and that child wants to be involved with, and so it makes you feel good about that because you see, hey, we have a future. I think right now there's, one of the rec department age group, I think it's 10. They have like 30 kids playing this year. I think it's the 10-year-old group, if I'm not mistaken. Our middle school 8th grade team, they've been doing workouts all summer, and they've had 23 or 4 kids showing up every day.
Wow.
This is just 8th graders. A few 7th graders kicked in there, and then the 7th graders, they started working out and practicing, and they've been having like 20, 21, 22. In pre-practice workouts they've been having, and so it's showing a level of commitment that you can look at and say, in a small town, anytime you can get 20, 25, 30 in any age group, you got to feel pretty good about that, and so it gives an opportunity for us to be a good football program for an extended period of time, because I don't care how good of a coach you are, if you don't have good players, you're not going to be. And if you don't have a lot of, you got to have a decent number. You can't just have 8 or 10. You've got to have 20 to 30 kids in each age group to where, they have time to develop, and you don't have a hole in a certain class. All of a sudden you get to where you got an 10th grade or 11th grade class that got 5 or 6 kids in it, and that kills you.
Right.
you've got to have 15. 12 minimum, 15, but ideally you want to have 20 kids in each grade once you get into high school.
Right.
So.
Well, Coach, I appreciate your time, and good luck throughout the season.
Thank you.